Welcome to the first T121 podcast. My name is Gary, to the right side of me is Gary, and also to the left side is Morgan. If you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you're watching it on any of our other platforms which you have this on, please share it with your friends. Today is an exciting day. We've been looking to do this podcast for a long time now. Obviously with COVID-19 restrictions, this is the first day that we can do it safely.
Months.
It's going to be an interesting discussion. It's something that we put out to our Instagram followers to actually decide the first topic of this podcast. So without further ado, we have chosen what is talent and hard work. And then basically just in a...
So I think the start you have to define what is raw talent as opposed to hard work. So Dave, you had something interesting on talent, didn't you? Like the actual definition.
Yeah, so obviously as Warren said, it's important to define essentially what we're going to discuss. So again, we're going to address talent versus hard work, and then we're obviously going to talk about player examples specifically to football. But for talent, for me anyway, it is like a gift, a natural or genetic gift that you've been given at birth, essentially. That is
non-negotiable, like it's just given.
You can see it. It's like that it factor when you go to watch a game. You can just tell someone has it, balance and all that type of stuff. Yeah.
So that for me anyway, that's talent. I think we're all probably
we probably agreed. All agreed on that. I'd say.
Do you have anything else going on to that?
Not really. No. I think what I was saying there about the it factor. When you go to watch certain players, you just know. I think that's something that you can tell someone has it. Raw talent can come years down the line as well. Like there's a lot of players we know who haven't really done much in football, but have it. Like have a lot of ability, but then that kind of comes down to the discussion. Actually, literally leads straight into it.
Yeah.
Why aren't they at the highest level now?
I think, but that leaves a lot of area for debate, because the way that you're describing that there, you'd say like it's an it factor or an X factor is the way I would say it. But to me, with you talking like that, it sounds like it's just purely a football or technical aspect. I think people can have talents, they can like in terms of attributes that can have serious impact on the game of football. But like we'll get into that later.
That's interesting how you define it, because technically for me, obviously when you go watch something you want to see someone who's technically gifted, but we appreciate those who aren't also and have different parts of their game. So by talent, it's funny that you mentioned that. It's like you have someone you can just tell, like I was saying, who just has it. Technically they have it in full flow. They have it. But then you look at someone who's completely different, who might be physically huge. Like you look at a basketball player and 6'6", they just physically have it. So
physical talent,
So if you can amalgamate the two, physically have it and technically have it, obviously you've got a perfect human. But then if you're looking at, I look for talent, like I define it purely technically, but I'd be open to discussion on a physical standpoint. Some people just are rapid, like they just have things physically, they know how to use their body, all that type of stuff. Like obviously you look at Pogba, technically does he have it? Absolutely, in abundance. Physically, absolutely. But why can't he get the two to click? You know, sometimes.
I would classify him as an extremely talented individual, and it's his whole package
in all aspects.
But to be fair, we will get into that. Like we said at the start, like this is what is talent, what is hard work, and more so talent versus hard work. What do you need? What's the most important component to actually achieve something? So what would hard work be then be to you?
Yeah, like
both is
hard work. Like see, if it depends if someone has talent or not. Some people work so hard and just don't have talent, which is. That's just life. I suppose that goes in every walk of life, not just football. People really work hard and they just don't have that it factor. That doesn't say, I don't think, by definition, I don't think you need to have the it factor to become a high level footballer. And then again, that comes to what we define as making it. For me, it could be just playing top levels of senior league and doing really, really well, because that's my level and that could be my huge achievement to me. While for others, they think League of Ireland, they might think England and all that type of stuff. It depends how you define it. So if you can get, I think for hard work, I think it's getting the best out of your abilities at the highest level that you can play. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you can get that, like reach that that level, I think that's hard work. Getting to that level. Now, you need some luck along the way. I think to be the highest level, you gotta physically have it, or you gotta technically really have it, and then also get luck and everything that comes with it.
So talent is then, we've agreed, is like natural given to you.
Either physical or technical or both.
And then you've got hard work or work ethic essentially is what you've drained out of the sponge essentially.
Yes.
And it's like, this is an interesting one, because especially when you're growing up, you always hear the typical saying, talent or hard work beats talent, talent doesn't work hard, and all these kind of things. So that's kind of why we wanted to obviously address this, because we even get questions about this, like how hard do you need to work to be a footballer. It's always basically relating what you're gifted with versus how hard do I need to work with that. And when I was actually thinking about this, when we obviously set this up as a topic, in terms of reframing that, the idea of work ethic or hard work, is that a talent in somebody when they're born?
Oof, that's a good question. Jesus Christ, that's a good
Spin
question.
it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like,
Would you say
for my example, I worked hard younger as a footballer, but the best work I got out of myself was learning from G in terms of studying. That's probably the most I've ever taken out of hard work. Hard work as in, people think hard work is when you turn up on your good days and you work really hard and you're there for those couple of hours. It's very generic, but doing the small things, when you know, say for example, I'm going to go into a whole different thing rather than football, but it's like training, it's the exact same thing. For studying, I knew I was getting more benefit out of the days when I was working where I didn't want to work, and after 15 minutes of trudging through, when you're trudging through, you're just trying to get some sort of flow going. There are the days where the hard work is defined, because it's very easy to work on your good days, but it's very difficult to work on your bad days. And there's a great quote, and he's a great example for this from Matt Sheldon. I don't want to misquote it. I don't want to misquote it. It's excellent. It's like, if you only work in your good days, you'll never get anywhere. Something like that.
We can pop the quote up for the listeners.
If you only worked on the days you felt good, you wouldn't get far. Something like that.
So
actually, it's a great quote.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the two words, I don't want to be too specific, but like hard work. Like, to me, hard work sounds like, obviously you were saying it's the days you don't want to do it, but I think a better word for hard work is application.
Would you
agree?
Oh
yeah, that
application
work ethic.
Application's more than just pitch.
Yeah, I think application is the main thing. Like, I think talent is purely, well, we'll get into that in a minute, but we're still on the hard work aspect. I think application is a better word to describe it, because a lot of the work is enjoyable, like particularly for a sport. So I wouldn't call it hard work. Like, if you're doing, let's say, for example, let's say you're doing fast twitch work, say you're doing hard sprints, and it's taxing on the body, you're still going to enjoy it. Particularly if it's a session and there's ball work after, you're going straight to a bounce game or something. But
that's what I'm saying. Application is the word, because application just isn't on the pitch.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
In terms of what I said then, so for me, people are born with different abilities. There are different abilities to work hard, or work rates, or work ethics, essentially. So would you say that, back to what I said, is, to me, hard work or work ethic can be a gift. So some people are gifted. Like, it's like, would you say it's 90 or 100% the environment that creates your kind of work ethic, or your ability to apply yourself to scenarios? Or would you say it's fully natural?
So are you saying, like, when you're born, do you have work?
I think the three of us were born with different work. Our brains are different in that one of us is more talented than the other in terms of work ethic. Because for me, if you can be technically talented, physically talented, why can't you be mentally talented as well? Why are our brains not different?
I think you're mentally talented.
It's a good show. I think you can be mentally talented.
Yeah, but
talented.
Again,
you grow up with it.
Talent. See, we were talking about talent as a non-negotiable. So you have talent. How many people have you seen just pick up a racket and they're just naturally excellent at it without any training? But can you be naturally, mentally talented?
I think it stems from environment.
I think it's not all environment.
Not all of it, but a lot of it is.
Yeah, I was telling the lads about
some people do grow up with just that, like, they just dig in.
It's like it's like their brain, and I've seen a couple of examples, and like reference one or two, but it's like their brain rewards them better for the work they put in. If that makes sense. They get more enjoyment out of it, so they work harder, and that's
it's a drug.
That's their talent.
Yeah. Like, for example, if for example we went for a full day and you knew it was a work day, like it wasn't a holiday, you weren't on holidays, if you don't do X, Y, Z in terms of work, it might, like, your work might be a 10k, you have to get a run in, and if you don't do your run, your body or your actual being is a bit more depressed. B, you're just not yourself.
It affects you mentally more.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of ingrained. It's kind of like callous. The more you do it, particularly when you're in a high performing environment, your standards and your brain knows that if you don't keep up that momentum, you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve. It's kind of like it's like your brain is mentally like chipping away at you all the time.
Yeah.
Is that a talent? Like, is that God given? I think it's in our blood. To be honest with you, I think it's in everybody's blood. But the problem is, some people get that little bit more of a tweak in an environment, and they might need a good environment. Some people don't need a good environment.
So what would you say the split is then on born with it environment
Interesting
for work
that you say that. Some people in an environment that suits them, they absolutely like thrive.
Yeah.
They just, while other people, and I think this actually stems back to the hard work with talent. I think talent needs to be in an uncomfortable environment to then apply work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talented, you get away with murder up until you're 14, 15. Like
In this country,
16,
definitely.
massively. If you're physically talented, you're set until you hit 15s, 16s maybe. While if they're in an uncomfortable environment growing up at 12, 13, where they're physically outmatching everyone, maybe even technically outmatching anyone, if you can put them in an environment where they struggle, maybe a year up, maybe in an environment where the manager doesn't settle just for things, they play a certain way, they play in a certain system, so they fit into something specific. Now you can go into a
Bigger
thousand
than
different
them.
things, something that's bigger than them. Yeah, so it's not just them standing out. I think that's where real talent either crumbles, or that's where mental talent comes into it. So you have obviously the physical or technical aspect, but that in that environment they have to step up and apply a lot more than they do if they're just going through the motions every single week in an environment that suits them.
I think people are far too complicated though to define them in certain areas and niches. Like, even like if you want to take a world example, like if you take a seed from the Amazon, it's not going to grow in the desert. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it all depends on what environment you're in. Some people, for example, but like it's like the age-old thing. It's like, oh, like, do you ever hear coaches going like, oh, like that player needs an arm around him, but you can have a go at that player.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's as easily set on that. I think in terms of culture, and when a player buys in, culture really like wraps talent and hard work. So if you can match where talent is appreciated, but you have your hard work, I'm going to say application standards, you seem to marry the two together. But I think it's important, like we kind of, you could talk all day about that, but as we were saying, like the topic of hard work versus talent, like do you need, like can hard work get you to a level? That would be the big
I think
thing.
hard work gets you to, like I was saying earlier, it gets you to your level.
Your level.
Your level.
Okay.
Whatever your level is, it will get you there. Whether it's Leinster Senior League, whether it's League of Ireland, whether it's Premier League football, whether it's Championship football, you will get to that level.
But to get to Premier League top of football,
To get to the Premier
have
League,
to
you have to have it.
have both.
Have to have
both.
both. Have to have both.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there is countless examples of talented players who don't have the same application as others.
Absolutely.
But how
I
come
know
they can
talent.
slip through the wire then?
That comes down to hard work. The
yeah.
application, and you
A
got to
bit
be
of luck as
a
well.
bit of luck as well. Like you could pick up an injury on a bad day.
No, the point I'm trying to make there was you have players who are playing, like, they could be exceeding their level at the top. They could be extremely talented individuals, but their application is poor. Like, total
Example.
application.
Give an example of a player.
Well, I don't want to be name dropping, but I've heard about top players from this country and also English football who, like, for example, nutrition in the morning from any standards would be appalling.
I get what you mean. Yeah. So they're
Recovery
still
in
performing
regards to
but
like
they're-
alcohol taking in,
Yeah.
like not applying themselves in the gym. Now, to be fair, like I've had conversations with pro footballers and they say, "Oh, he do that and that," but on the 90 minutes he's fantastic. Is there a place for those?
I think
players?
there's a place for it. Yeah, as long it's like
weaning
Dennis
out
Rodman.
now. Yeah, but it's weaning out now.
It is. The margin of error is a lot different because physicality is a huge factor in the modern game.
Yeah.
Because you literally can't slip up physically anymore.
Yeah,
Just can't get away with it.
But just
Now it's not the physical, the old physical.
Yeah.
I think it's the physical endurance more so to stay in a game.
Yeah.
But if you're not pulling your weight in your team, it's very
Yeah, if
very
you're not applying
now
yourself,
it's
to
so
get to-
blatant.
Yeah, to
It's
get
so
to the Premier
blatant.
League, you can't get to the Premier League without being committed. Well, you can.
Well, you can
play,
get to,
you can get there.
but then that
if you're
comes
sitting
down.
bench,
This
but-
comes down to talent. Then, do you have a little bit of leeway for those who are really talented, who might not be those types of players who dig in, get loads done? Is there players that compensate for them, so they do the hard work? So, say for example, you've been flashy number 10, the typical thing, and you've got a 6 and an 8 beside you, and they absolutely work non-stop. Do you allow that 10 the luxury of just being a talented player without all the physical stuff and without all the hard work, as long as they get results?
But you're taking talent now as
Without hard
a
work.
luxury.
Yeah,
So I would
as a
say-
luxury thing, yeah.
Well, then I think if your talent, well, this is now the big thing, right? And this is what I said to you earlier about this conversation with talent. You were saying mental talent
I think when people talk about like talent, like, oh, give the small guy a chance, I'm probably going to put like a spanner in the works, but I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to be small, you have to be, like, to compete at the top level. Say if you're playing, I don't know, say if you're playing underage League of Ireland football, it's not just an excuse to say, oh, let's put the small kid in. That small kid has to be a good player,
I
regardless.
absolutely agree with that.
Like,
That was my excuse when I was younger.
Yeah, I think players go too quickly. Now, to be fair, if you look at Xavi for Barcelona and stuff, like, if they weren't given the opportunities at those levels, I guarantee if you watch Xavi play, he's 14
he was
years
probably
of age.
balling, he was probably destroying everyone. That's the difference. Like,
yeah.
I think it's a real scapegoat here in Ireland where you can just go, small, like, give him a little extra time. I would have loved when I was younger. Now, obviously, I wasn't ready yet to learn. If someone told me when I was younger, you need to learn to protect the ball because you're really small, God, I would have bid on it. Like, I would have been all over it. So that kind of stems down to, again, your environment. Is someone putting you in, giving you the proper information? People kept saying to me, oh, you're talented, but like you just need to do a little more. What does that mean? Like, how am I supposed to apply that as a kid? Like, you need someone above you to go, this is what you need to do. Now, obviously, you can't pigeonhole it, but it would have helped me personally as a player massively. But a real scapegoat, I hate that in Irish football, and I used to agree with it for ages, for years, really. That, like, Irish players, small players, they need a chance. They have to earn their chance.
Yeah, they do
So
need.
they do good.
Still
you can't
need
just be
a
like,
chance, but they can't.
They need a chance,
That
of course.
they can't be a token gesture.
Of course, it can't just be like, oh, he's small, give him a chance. You have to perform. Doesn't mean you need to go get one and stanch one 30 yards away. So you just need to put
Yeah, but that's the thing about talent, right? How many kids, for example, have you seen that's small? They might be tiny on the ball, like might have like, so say they trap a ball, little drive back and flicker in the corner. Brilliant, yeah. Look, you got a real talent of ticking the ball over possession wise. My big thing would be, and what you were saying there earlier about talent, and back to the Premier League point, like if you're playing 90 minutes on the Saturday in the Premier League and then you're going off, let's say in your evenings doing whatever that doesn't help your game, if you have a talent of A, stopping the ball going in your back of the net, or B, creating opportunities with the ball in the back of your net, I think that as a talent is worth its weight in gold. So what I'm trying to say is, when people say talent, particularly in this country, they think of like, oh, he's talented, he's very good in possession. You can still be an extremely talented defensive player, or extremely talented, just effective. You can be effective. You can be like,
effective players are beyond valuable.
Yeah, like how many players have we seen, even like last year, or like even looking at this year now with underage League of Ireland setups. Even if you just go to a game, you might see a player that, like, he might, for example, not be able to take a ball out from 20 yards in the sky, but if you put a ball in the channel, and that, like, this could be small lads too, they could be brilliant when they get into 1v1 opportunities with space and time. Physically, there's talent there. If you can cover ground quickly, that's a talent.
Yeah.
You know, it's well documented and researched. You can't. It's very difficult to improve your sprint speed.
Yeah.
So surely that's a God-given talent.
Yeah, your
sprint.
forward.
I think there's So to define the physical, once you've got sprint speed, you've got like vertical jump.
Yeah.
You've got
vertical
using your body, your
frame, like
your frame. How you use your frame. I
Yeah.
think that's how to get the best out of your physical attributes is actually how you use your frame. People are quick genetically. That's a God-given talent. If you're quick, if you have it, pace-wise.
To be fair, like even you as an example, you weren't particularly the quickest player, but now when you grew into your body,
when I was smaller, I was rapid. Then as I took my transition 3 years, I was like, honestly, I was like a cow. I couldn't move. I was so mobile and it's unbelievable. But then once I grew into myself and I learned how to use my body, like these bleeding limbs, learning how to use them is the most important thing. Now, I'd say
you're like, well, you're not rapid, but you'd hold your own.
I'd cover ground.
You cover ground
well.
slow.
No.
So then, if you have a player at a young age who, let's say, is very slow for their position or in their position,
how do you get the best out of them?
not even. But we're talking about, for example, giving small kids a chance, because when they get to 18 and 19, everybody levels out physically and they stand out.
Yeah.
How do you judge then that player is slow, because they could get quick or they can never get quick? So how do you
potential? But actually, that's
that's
a great.
It's hard to see that potential.
No, it is.
It's technical potential.
But that's especially in a team environment. It's so difficult to see that.
Yeah.
Which
like you're dealing with, as a manager, say for example, you're dealing with 16 to 18 players. Seeing that one characteristic in a player and trying to work on it is
like
near to impossible.
But that is the job of the coach, really, is to pick up
It's to pick up But I don't think they
weaknesses
can
currently.
Yeah, I think that's what actually kind of stems down to what we do, supplemental training. If you're a manager, that there's not many, let's be honest, who know these like really in-depth details when they go, right, he needs to say whatever we were talking about there, like a real nitpick example.
Well, sprint speed was
yeah,
that one.
yeah. So say for example sprint speed, like if you come into supplemental training, would it help you? Yeah, probably. Yeah, to some degree. But then
It won't make it worse anyway.
Oh yeah, it won't make it worse. It's certainly, I need more contact, it's going to be better. But like, are you just going to turn it on in a year, or do you have to have something within you that has that talent to then go from here to here? You can definitely take steps, little steps. You can get little wins in terms of that, or you go, say for example, to supplemental training like us, and it's kind of like, it's not your strength, don't do it. Or you obviously don't want to take that thing out, especially as a kid. They need to learn all aspects of the game. You don't want to take it out of them. But then it kind of comes down to our job. What do you work on? Do you try to kind of eliminate those situations? If I'm really bad with my back to goal, why would I go with my back to goal? It's just a silly thing to learn.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you need to learn it. You need to get used to it. But get yourself in the best
It wouldn't be
situation.
your first
Learning
crack down.
that's a terrible thing. We say this all the time. In Ireland, no one ever talks about their strengths. Ever. It's all like, work on this, do this, that's your weakness, work on it. Why can't anyone just go, I'm 6'1", I'm really good at in the air, and I'm really good in the channel. You can make a career off that. If you really, really hone in on it. Obviously, that doesn't mean neglect this. Say, for example,
When you say a
sprint
career,
speed
you don't mean Premier League.
No, I don't
As
mean
you said
Premier
that,
League,
but you
but
said that
it-
get
but
to
it's
your level.
If that's the only two things you have, you're not going to play in the Premier League. That's what I'm saying. It's your it.
Yeah.
What is your level? And if you can do that at
What's your
up
X
to
factor?
your level, well,
what's your X factor?
that is getting the most out of sponge.
Yeah.
That is
It's
the
interesting
best
with
way.
that
Drain the sponge,
where
that's
you
what I would
where you say like, I've actually started doing it recently when I'm, for example, taking our sessions or even team sessions, where I always ask a player what they're good at or what they think their strengths are, and it's important players know what they're good at, because that's, as I say there, each player I ask, I go, your strengths is what makes you the player you are.
Yeah.
You think about
Where's my
Ronaldo,
identity?
you think about what he's good at. You don't go, oh, well, he could do this or that. Like, it's, your strengths are you.
absolutely.
They're like they are you, like on the pitch, because you're going to do them a lot because they're obviously your strengths. You're not going to just always do things you need to work on, so it's important we do focus on that.
Yeah.
Another one then, so is every Premier League footballer a talented footballer? Because that's the, we'll
Yes.
say that and the Champions League are top.
Yeah.
We'll say the top level
absolutely.
of football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them are
Whether
talented.
it's mentally,
Yeah.
physically, I don't think there's players who have all three.
Yeah.
There is, obviously, at the highest
Like
level.
De Bruyne, for
De
example.
Bruyne has all
would be,
three,
yeah.
absolutely, like without a doubt, he's got everything.
Well, if you break it into functions, you have attacking, transition to defend, defending, transition to attack, and then let's say you have technical, tactical, physical,
Yeah.
and mental,
Psychological.
and that breaks down.
Well, I'd say
in,
Bruyne has the cheap
People
Oh,
say
yeah.
every
Like
single
Tandem.
one of them,
yeah,
yeah.
but he's top
Yeah,
top
like
grade.
top,
like,
top.
he's
He just
1%,
won, literally today, he
1%.
just won Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Today was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, if everybody in the Premier League is a talented footballer, and I was chatting to you about this, if you pluck somebody like Mark Noble, who's obviously had a great career and like
Fantastic
played about
career.
3-4 games, and all that,
He's
exactly, on him,
he's
he's
trying
great.
to sponge.
But if you plucked him out and put him in the Championship, would he stand out straight away? Because he's a talented footballer.
No.
You don't think so?
But the problem is,
What is his talent?
and this is
Is what I'm saying. If he stands out, if
Yeah.
he's really good and really good at hitting diagonal, say for example, and that's his strength, or just keeping the ball. What he does in West Ham is he takes the ball over and he works really hard and he's great at it. And those players are so valuable. But if he goes into the Championship, he's not just going to start hitting 60-yard diags and start pinging shots and stand out all of a
so
sudden.
what is his talent?
His talent is doing his job, and his job is really effective in a team setting. Does that mean if you pluck him out and put him into a lower level, would
Yeah.
he stand out? Maybe he'd look a little bit more technically gifted because he'd have more time. So maybe, but it depends what his standout characteristic is. I think for players like him, they don't stand out at a lower level. Maybe slightly. Okay?
Yeah.
Maybe slightly. They probably do have a little bit. But if you pluck De Bruyne out and put him in the Championship, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And that comes down to what actual talents does he have.
yeah, that's purely because of the talents that he has.
Mhm.
And for example, like the problem, and I find a big problem with people, not just in Ireland, let's say like anywhere who watches football, they have an opinion on 90 minutes.
Yeah.
What happens to the 24 hours in the day that they never see? What happens to the 7 days a week that they never see about the player? Like Mark Noble, just as an example, like we're talking about him purely on pitch, saying what his talents are. The man could be brilliant in the dressing room.
He definitely
He
is.
could be a
He's
facilitator of young
well.
talent
Yeah.
coming through the dressing room.
Mm.
Who knows? Like that could be, like a lot of managers. If you talk about like even like a Sam Allardyce, a Ferguson, or any people who publicly talk about the importance of relationship management and people management, that might solely be a thing that they hone in on as a great talent
value.
to
It's
have.
value. You know exactly what you're getting.
But with that, like what I was saying is, because by definition at the start of this, we said talent is a gift. I'm born with this talent. So, and again, we've said kind of everyone in the top level of football has to have a talent.
Yeah.
So if Mark Noble's talent, we'll say, is like application or whatever way you want to put it. And again, so we saying talent is you're born with this gift, not your environment. Your environment hones it. So what was he born with on day one that makes him different to me, for example? In that, if it's not a technical thing, like
It's a good question.
is that because we
Just
define
Technically, he's quite good. Let's not neglect
Yeah.
what he actually is.
But he's
good
not-
at. He's not unbelievable. He's not standout.
Yeah.
Obviously, and
But
his types
that's-
of players aren't. But I think he goes in the bracket at professional football. Okay, at professional football. Obviously, he's got talent to get to his level. But then his talent almost now is just how hard he works.
But is he actually technically talented? Just
Well, he's good. He keeps the ball. He's really good in possession. If you actually watch
so
him,
if you
He
put
plays
him
good
and put him in a
football.
lower league, would he technically stand out? So
That's what I was saying earlier.
You don't think he
No,
would?
he wouldn't. But
Then
the,
is he
the
a
ability
talented
to
person?
literally trap a ball and play 5 yards, that's a talent. A lot of players can't do
Yeah,
that.
but nobody
Yeah.
picks up on that
Yeah,
as
no,
a talent.
no one picks up that.
To
No
the,
one picks
to the
up on
common
that.
eye,
Is
though,
that talent?
It is, because a lot of how many players can't do it?
how many players can't facilitate possession? Even at
It's
a young
But it's
incredible.
not. What is the talent there? Is it the technical?
It's just
or is
no.
it the
I don't
decision?
think that by definition it's not the technical.
It's
What I'm
the
saying,
decision.
when he's younger, yeah, he gets away with it because he's
Yeah.
reached a level. But once he's at that level now, technically he's just. Well, I'm not going to say average because he's a Premier League football, but
Yeah.
for Premier League football he's average across the board.
Yeah.
But then
in the 1%.
what's he's not like
De
in
Bruyne.
the top.
Like-
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
in the-
offense
But
to
then
Mark.
what
If you ever
what
listen.
what is it that makes him sustainable at the highest level? It's that he does his job and he works extremely really
doing your job
really
is a
well.
big one,
Brings a lot of
because
value.
if he knows and understands his role in that system, in that shape, for that manager, in the functions, so let's say attacking, transition to defend, defending, transition to attack. If he has a certain role in that West Ham side, for example, and he replicates it for the manager, that is a skill. It's very difficult to have a goal and do it week in, week out.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing with the Mark Noble one is that to the common eye, he doesn't have X factor in regards to like he could receive a ball in any angle, shift it to one side and play it a reverse pass around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't. He won't do it consistently over time compared to another player in his position. And to be fair, and no disrespect to West Ham, but that's probably why he's not playing Champions League football.
Yeah.
But again, as you said, application
But
mixed
that's
with
the
some
thing,
good talent has gotten
is
to his
it,
level.
Like we said, talent. You're born with it.
What's Mark Noble's
What was
talent?
he? What was he born with?
I think excellent
makes
engine,
Yeah.
excellent anticipation in all the functions.
Physically he's very good.
And I mean anticipation, like not just to intercept the ball, like to play somebody's back foot at the right time because he can see, let's say, for example, if somebody bends over into the channel, so he pops it into the attacker mate's back foot. I think that's a talent.
Yeah.
Another thing I would say, he could be excellent in terms of people skills. I don't think that's an environment thing per se overall.
Being a good person, yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, no.
It's not. I wouldn't say that's a talent.
No,
That's just
how you
being
are
a
with
good
people
person.
is
It's just about
that's
being a good
more.
Well, they
more-
say leadership's in the blood, but I think that's another one for another day.
Conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's one for
Because
a day,
like,
but-
for example, when I was in college was last year, we would have talked a lot about this, and there's like research into some fella came out years ago. Ericsson is your man's name who would have done this research, and the idea he would basically say was it's the whole 10,000 hour rule. You've heard that
Yeah.
before, basically
I think
where
everybody has, to be fair.
yeah, like the first I think paper he brought out on it was about like expert piano players, and it was something like you could basically categorize or grade them by their level. So like elite or whatever, what would you call that? Yeah, we'll say elite, like teachers, novices, and all this by the amount of hours they done. And his argument was, you just work hard, you can be an expert. Which for us, expert would be Premier League football, for example, or the elite level. And so the idea of talent versus hard work, because when you're growing up, you're always thinking, because people say, oh, some people just have it, and like some people are destined for it, whereas the flip side of that kind of 10,000 hours deliberate practice kind of route would be talent, in that people are just born, like this baby comes out, it's going to be a footballer because of the talent it has. Like they're now I wouldn't say like they're two extremes, like a political extreme, for example, they're like right and left, they're just so different to each other. I think I'd meet in the middle where like there's talents that you have, and like I've said, I think for example hard work or your work ethic is a talent. Obviously you can be technically talented, obviously mentally that you're probably not even conscious of. like they done that show with Ronaldo, remember, where he was like, they turn off the lights and he can still just he doesn't think about that. That's just his
years ago.
his gift. That's one of his talents, is like his perceptual, like, cognitive ability, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to that, because that's what this debate is about: talent versus hard work. Where would you sit on that field of, if I do 10,000 hours of work, I'm going to be a professional footballer, or I'm just born, I'm going to be a professional footballer?
Right.
Yeah, I think this is back to the 10,000 hours debate. The first thing you said there about the actual writing was that the studies were on like pianists, teachers,
A lot
novels,
of the research
stuff.
actually was in
But in
musicians,
my opinion, they are all individuals where the team environment, the culture doesn't impact as severely as football, as our
individual.
there's
sport.
less factors.
So
going
what I
into
would
it.
say was, like, if that was an actual like scientific study, I think the 10,000 hours rule will probably correlate better with studies that are individual. So instrumental, literature, novelists, teachers, I think it will correlate more with that. But, and to be fair, probably coaching as well, but I think for team environments, there's just far too many variables to have any sort of concrete literature based around like, oh yeah, do these 10,000 hours.
And
now, to be fair, if you're going to do something for 10,000 hours,
You're
I
gonna
guarantee
get
you're going to be
these,
better
yeah,
than the person
yeah.
that doesn't. So
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is
Absolutely.
there is rule or
Because
kind of room for.
there's actually a fella who decided he had never, I don't think he'd ever played golf, I'm not exactly sure. There's actually a website, it's called the Dan Plan, and this fella basically decided, he's like, I'm going to do 10,000 hours of golf and see if I can be a pro. And he had a website set up and had done a counter of all that. He got 6,000, he actually had to like retire essentially because of injuries and all, whatever. And so he was like a human experiment for it, and obviously he didn't get there, and he only got like 6,000 hours. But I think what you said is a good point in that there is less factors that you can control in football compared to if you want to be good at the piano, you just need a piano on yourself and practice, and obviously a good teacher.
Good mentors and stuff.
But you don't need your teammate beside you to come and play piano.
No, but there is talent in being a musician. You're given, for example, like, you could be excellent at picking up melodies, and like, obviously I'm not an expert in music, but like there's a rhym. People have better
his
rhythm
argument
and
is
stuff.
it's just hard work.
No, I don't think
Everybody's at a level.
in any sort of
I don't think it's
life.
as simple to define that if you have talent, you're going to get this level.
Also,
if you work hard, you're going to get this
Where's
level.
IQ come into the debate as well?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So for me, I'd sit in the middle of that spectrum where I don't think everyone's just born destined to be great, or born and they just need to work hard to get it. I think it meets the middle. And I think we all kind of like that.
Yeah, I think
where it's
we
like
all-
you need talent and hard work
Yeah, you
to
need
get
both.
to. You said that in fairness, hard work gets you to your level.
Yeah.
And talent and hard work, you still mightn't get to to the top of
But
football.
that's the beauty of sport.
Yeah.
You're not given anything. That's the thing. You could,
If anything, people are
you
trying to take things off you.
could work 10,000 hours. You can have all the talent in the world, and it could just go wrong.
Yeah.
That's like anything in life, though. So if you're, I think the best thing to pluck from it is that if you can apply yourself to sport like we done when we were younger, you can apply it to the rest of your life, studying, whatever work you're doing, anything. So to take the benefits, because let's be honest, how many players are going to be professional footballers in their life? Like, it's very, very minimal.
1% of
Like,
players.
very, very minimal. So if you can take the positives from the habits you build as a footballer and apply it to life, I think that could also be defined as reaching your level, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be in football, because you can take a lot of really positive habits and really good learning curves. Some of the best things I learned in life were from being rock bottom in football. And then it's either, and then I think that comes down to the definition, like I was saying earlier. That's where talent sometimes needs to be in order to yield more work ethic.
Get where it needs
But
to get, yeah.
what I'm saying is to pluck the positives from good habits and all that type of stuff is a huge benefit to any stage in life. So whether or not you do make it as a pro footballer, if you flip it on its head and go, right, that's a really good thing I'm after doing for my whatever amount of years you play up until you're 20 or 21 or even 30, even if you take it in senior football, and apply yourself, any sort of application in any sort of life. It could be for graphic design, it could be for music, it could be for football, it could be for anything. It doesn't matter what it is, leading accounting or something like that. Yeah, as long as you apply yourself and you build good habits from when you're younger, or even you could pick up on it in a good environment, even in a good workplace, that you could take that for the rest of your life. And I think that's an important thing to know within the hard work. You don't get that from talent, I don't think, unless you are put in a situation where you have to work hard. So working hard is always good. I think that's something we all agree on. It's always
I don't
good.
think
It's
anyone
always going to be a
disagree.
good
Well,
thing. Yeah.
actually,
And overworking
socially,
is a problem. But
Yeah, but
that's a
socially-
whole different conversation.
well, you could bring it into here. I think socially, if you have excellent application, so whatever your trade is, if you have excellent application, I think it attracts the right people into your life, and I think also it pushes away the wrong individuals.
Yeah.
So say for example, if you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do a gym session, and all your friends are saying, well, you know, we're going out that night, like, is that the right thing to do? Like, well, you had a break or you had a rest day today, why are you getting up at that hour? Like, if your application and your sole desire is to achieve to the maximum level you want in that sport, do you really want those people? I think it shows cracks in people's persona, if that makes sense, if you have good application. And also in the same breath, if you're getting up at 6, somebody probably go, why not get up at 5:30?
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's certain people that can you kind of pull into your culture, but you know, I think that's what talent, and also this is actually on that social one. Just don't really talk about it for so long, but talent attracts the wrong individuals, I find.
Yeah, because everyone wants to be with the talented.
But then that's sometimes not the fault of the talented
No, it's
person.
not.
because
It's
No,
not. It's the
but I
fault
think
of
they're built up to be, because when you see this, like Xavi Simons, I remember obviously he's with PSG now, but when
PSG,
the first clips came out with him on social media where he was just like obviously unbelievable.
You can't
player.
You can't be
yeah,
put.
and obviously that built him up, so he's obviously a talented player. And as you said, they attract the wrong people, but it's almost because they attract so many people that there's a lot of wrong people who come
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, quite simply.
I think, yeah,
if
to
you've
be
got
fair-
it, there's a lot of poisonous people around you, and that's the same in acting apparently and all that type of stuff. Now
Yeah.
I wouldn't know much about it, but it's a big thing.
It's the same
You're
with
so
everything.
it's everything. It's everything. When
Yeah.
you're really good, everyone wants to be around you. So they love you or they hate you, and if they're not beside you, they hate you, and if they're beside you, they love you, and it's that.
Yeah.
There's no in between with people. That's why you need, I think, a solid
Yeah.
figure above you to kind of orchestrate things. That's why that comes with luck as well. You
Yeah,
have a really good
That's
mentor.
actually a huge
to
point
get
with
away with
talent. Talent, particularly in Ireland, small country, small. I wouldn't say a small mentality. I think there's some great people here who are pushing the bar hugely. But I find when there's a talented kid, let's say for example he's playing X level Premier football in Dublin or whatever in Leinster, could be anywhere, to be honest. Just Dublin has kind of like a social scene in football. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the kid at 6, 7. Everybody knows the kid at 12, so he's starting to get into League of Ireland football, and then he just has a name about him. He is just a ball of potential, like any other player.
Who really hasn't
terrible.
really achieved anything.
But
in football
again,
because
with the
they're
environment
so young.
sucking that out of him, he now thinks he's some sort of gift, or he has some sort of, like, now to be fair, I think to really achieve, you need to have some sort of an ego. But I mean, I think that talent is so poorly
Managed.
treated
Yeah.
and managed at young levels.
Yeah, terribly.
Really is.
What frustrates me about that is that it's not the kids that are giving them the egos. It is the adults
Yeah.
that gives them the egos.
The poor kids.
It's
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. We talk about this all the
Yeah.
time. Parents ruin football. It's so frustrating. Some of them are so great, don't get me wrong. But it seems to be those who are the most talented, you do not want to be around anything to do with them, which is such an issue. Sometimes you need a bit of luck with a really nice. The best parents, we say, are the ones you have no idea who they are. They just have no interference at all. That comes, like I was saying there 2 minutes ago, about a good solid figure above you. Because when you have talent, you need to nurture it, point it in the right directions. And when, say for example, you're unbelievable, you have all these things, especially now with social media, everyone telling you you're good. It's almost at 12 years old, you cannot like fathom that amount of information. You just think you're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it's sad because kids don't understand that.
Yeah,
And that's
sad
when you
child.
need a
Yeah.
concrete foundation behind you, whether it's a manager, sometimes even a teacher or something like sometimes
A
you
good
just need
culture
someone,
too.
or
If you're in the
a
right
good
place.
environment.
Yeah.
A good
Some of
environment.
the humble you essentially.
Some of the humbling. That's why I was saying earlier why talent
But don't
does
take it all out
well.
though.
No. But like talent, that's why I was saying when you're 12 or 13, sometimes being in the uncomfortable environment will yield the best results because there you're not nothing to no one. You need to work hard to then show your talent. You need to earn your right almost. Now I don't mean whatever, like you can define that whatever way you want, but that kind of, to get to that next stage or that, you kind of need to build that character through ego, and kids nowadays they've such a huge ego by the time they're 12 or 13, and those, we've seen it 1,000 times at my level, at current level with Irish football, those who don't have an ego when they're younger. Mark Travers is a great example. No ego, was left out of loads of squads when he was younger, and just kept working hard, consistent. Did he have talent? Obviously, yeah, but he was in really uncomfortable circumstances to get to where he is now. Well, someone who's just handed an England contract might come across their first setback. No, of course, you earn the right. That's where talent comes into it. But obviously, you need talent to get that level to be handed a contract. What I mean is it's easier for them to get it because they stand out so much. You know, a lot of it now is physical contribution first, and that's why they get the chance to be technically very good. But from that level, I think those who are stuck in the dirt with talent in the end.
Danny Grant's a great example.
Danny Grant's a great example. Yeah, Danny Grant's a great, because he was playing for Bangor senior team, and you remember he roasted us with Kevin, so he was playing with Crumlin, destroyed us like.
Was that 17s?
Yeah. Like, and
still gems.
His grow is actually, he's got a great story because he was obviously very good when he was younger at the Orchard and stuff, and then he was never not good. Like he reached it, they kind of went off the radar per se because he was playing.
What radar?
What radar? Like who? Like that's what I mean.
Who controls this radar?
Yeah, exactly. So he reached a certain level, but that was never his level. He always had that next step up, and now he's ripping it up because he had the talent. Now he was in the dirt. He had to learn. He was in senior football, I'd say, when he was quite young, and learned like it was probably an uncomfortable environment for a while. Now he's got a big personality, so he's probably quite good in that environment, but. There's probably 1,000 different stories we don't know about him that he had to go through in order to be where he is now. Yeah, and he hasn't been handed it. No way. His pathway has actually been really interesting. So yeah, it's a good example to say that because he's someone who probably has come from a little bit of dirt, as they say, the grit to get to where he is now, and he's yielding good results.
I'd say the grit is not like, I think the grit is like a metaphor for like, it's not the clear passage from schoolboy football to England and then possibly back to League of Ireland football, or like all the way through with no setbacks. But yeah, I think that's the big one. But like, I think even to kind of like, not to wrap up, but kind of to conclude, I think we should kind of talk about talent and hard work, like what is needed to, I'm going to say, because the pinnacle of football is to play in the Premier League. We'll start at the Premier League first. I'm just going to use you, Gary, for example. Do you think that you need to have talent by itself, application by itself, both, or why? This is Premier League solely.
To me, as I think I said it earlier on, to make the top level of football, so Premier League, international level, or Champions League, the latter stage of Champions League, you need to have both talent and hard work. I think Morgan made a great one in terms of hard work will get you to your level, essentially, and then like for me the whole idea of talent versus hard work is obviously which do you need more? You need both, and if you have talent you should work hard.
Yeah.
And if you have just hard work, keep doing it because you're still going to get to your level. It's just if you have a talent or you've been told you have a talent or whatever it might be, just match it with hard work. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Like,
why not?
What's the reason for not doing it? Like,
well, football is a short career when you think of it. Like you could be out by your time you're 30.
But the argument would be for people to be like, oh, I'm this talented, I'm this good. It's like, okay, let's say you're an Ireland, you're this good. Work harder and get to England and be that good. And then when you get to the Premier League, you maybe win the Premier League, whatever. Then you can sit back and go, all right.
To be a top player in the Premier League,
you need both.
What talents do you need?
It depends. Depends on the scenario.
Well, so for me, your work ethic.
Like look at Crouch. Look at Crouchy. Technically, he's actually very good for a big man.
Yeah.
But his standout is completely different to random one. Ashley Cole's. Yeah.
So what would you say?
Completely different.
So what? Concluding, you need an X factor.
You need to be you. You need to be your own player.
You need to have a strength.
You have to have a big strength, a big standout characteristic. Now, that doesn't mean it's absolute, like, it doesn't have to be the most greatest thing in the world. Back to Mark Noble. He just does his job, but he's really good at it. Yeah. And he's made a career out of it.
So you don't have to, like, you can have that talent, but your talent doesn't have to stand out in the Premier League.
No.
So you could be, like, as I said, you could pluck this player out and put them in a different league, or lower league, and that's when their talent, that's where their talent shines out. But when you put them amidst sentiment against Kevin De Bruyne, Kevin De Bruyne's just better.
Yeah.
But that player who's against him does not have talent.
Yeah.
It's just Kevin De Bruyne's a better footballer. But if you pluck that player...
He has more talents that are executed better, more consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
impact- I think
Yeah,
that
if you
talent-
put the other one out,
the way
put in lower league,
Yeah.
their talent would come through more.
I agree with that.
And whether it's a technical talent.
That's why I think in Ireland, like I was saying earlier, that physical players in Ireland tend to go over earlier because they've got physical talent in terms of their size and
Yeah.
pace, example. So,
If you're bringing up the best players board, sorry, they're going to be physically gifted.
of course,
Because if
of course,
you're a category 1 academy, you have to not to pick up every player
Yeah.
in the world, but I mean, like, let's say Europe, for example. To compete, and even talking about basketball, to compete, there is certain physical requirements.
Mhm.
Not just tall or strong, like, let's say cardiovascular, like your VO2. Like, you have to have, there's a baseline.
Ah,
You know, that doesn't mean, say, like 5'6" players at 19 don't do really well. There's some top 5'6"
Yeah,
players.
yeah,
The best
yeah,
player in
of
the
course,
world is
of course.
5'6".
yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So,
But what I was saying is that, like Daly worded it nicely there, the physical attribute could get you to that level, and that's what stands out for you up until this point. And then at that point, then
You're
you
just a
become,
good pro.
then you just become a good player. You
Yeah.
just kind of consistently do your job, and that's where you need to kind of go, what is my standout? Is it going to stand out in this league? Am I better than the fellow who's playing next to me? Maybe not. So then
You're
all of
still
a
a
sudden,
talented
you're still a
player
talented. It
first,
doesn't take
or
away
player.
you're a talented player, but you might need to adjust your role to suit yourself, and also that could stem into 1,000 things like playing in the system and adjusting your game slightly. But in general, it could be the physical standpoint that gets you to here, and then from here, it's not the physical thing that stand out. It's just doing your job consistently. Then, so like it gets you to a point, and then it's up to you to stay there.
okay.
Whether that means adjusting your game tactically, technically, physically, whatever it might be, adjusting.
get your baseline.
Yeah, get to there. That will give your physical, your standout, your X factor will get you to here, and then from there it's up to you to maintain it in that system under that manager with these players.
Yeah,
I think
getting
that's
your
important.
strengths. So I asked you a concluding question there, and I'm going to ask you one. Let's say, let's talk Premier League base again. So let's talk pro contract, best league. What is the most important talent?
I think that's quite situational, it's subjective. It depends on your. I think at the height, especially Premier League, it depends on your role in that system. And then I think from there you need to go, what is the most important for me to fit into this
Well,
system?
I'm going to say to you, and this is not just career, I think the non-negotiable best talent that a player can have is putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, okay.
Or at
You can't-
least
you can't dispute that
contributing
because
to opportunities.
It's an art. It's an art.
Like,
They're so valuable.
no discredit to defenders and
No.
stuff, but the best players most talked about are players that put the ball in the back of the net
Yeah.
because they're so valuable, and also it's an entertainment point as well. But people will pay millions for somebody that can kick a ball into a net, or at
Consistently.
least get
So
players
you're
in
saying
possession.
what is going to make
out of
the most
all,
stand
not
out,
per
or-
individual, just overall, what is the thing that stands
Yeah,
out?
So you're
What is
saying
the
what
X
is the
factor?
talent that?
Is most valuable, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
I think scoring goals is probably it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's difficult to
Scoring
not.
goals?
It's difficult to not pick that. I know it's
How
quite a
many-
generic
don't
thing.
players
many,
out.
how many great goal scorers are there?
Oh, very few.
Like
very few.
Aguero, Kane,
This year,
Vardy.
And
You don't
then
leave players out who score goals.
Lukaku debatably was up there considering his stats.
Well,
but he
even
wasn't
this-
at the time.
like
But
this
right
year
now,
in the Premier
Vardy, Aguero, Kane, and then
Like-
Sterling's been quite good, but consistently probably not over the last couple of years. De Bruyne could argue.
But I mean, purely as goal
Purely as
scorers.
goal scorers,
There's
yeah,
them
you're looking at them
three,
three.
Mane,
Aubameyang,
and Aubameyang. That's
Mane and
five.
Aubameyang.
That's
Well, I
five
wouldn't say,
players.
yeah, but like, if you're
So that's the most valuable then, because there's only them 5 players who
Yeah,
have that.
okay, but
The top talent.
maybe not goal
That
scorer,
comes
I would
down
say
to-
contributed to offense,
So,
for example.
De Bruyne, Sterling,
Somebody who can get 10 a year with 10 assists.
Martial could probably be in that.
Would you say
bracket.
what is the most important or most
Like-
valuable talent?
Yeah,
Is-
would be
Is it the goal scoring
Contribution.
itself or the contribution?
I would say contribution to offense.
Consistently, okay, yeah.
scoring goals.
So if you have a player
I think
there,
it's
so if you
scoring
have a
goals,
front
yeah.
three and a midfield, let's say an attacking midfield too, if you have a player there who can contribute to everything, they are not getting off the pitch.
Mhm.
And I'm talking like young levels.
Bruno.
They're not coming off the pitch.
You look at Bruno Fernandes, you can't take. Well, you can take him off now when we're winning games, but we're all United supporters, by the way. Just a little plug for you.
I know.
Yeah, for Bruno, like contribution to attacks. I know he scores a lot of penalties, but he's won half of them. Like he's ridiculous at contributing to attacks. He's invaluable to any team. You literally cannot leave him out. Without him in your squad, not only that, does Bruno work hard? Absolutely, he works his socks off every game. He actually sets the tempo with their press, which is very interesting. But Yeah, I think contributing to goals. It's very rare. There's De Bruyne and Bruno that contribute to goals and assists, which is quite rare. I think it's very rare in a player. Sterling, you could debate some of these things, very good. And then there's probably 4 or 5 other players that people could list in the comments, do so actually, that also have those 2 factors. But I think when you want one pinnacle thing, like we were saying, the one standout that you're looking for that is most valuable to any team is a goal scorer. I think
then to finish would be, what's the best for the word, this kind of, so to come back to our question start was talent, what is hard work, and then obviously pitting them against the other team versus, we've obviously addressed a lot of the kind of Premier League stuff. For example, just to, let's say, a standard professional level, so like obviously not the Premier League,
making a living,
making a living playing football, say. The idea of having a talented player and a hard-working player will get more. If the talented player doesn't have anything, obviously they're not. It's like talent sets the floor, but the character sets the ceiling, is like a saying, for example. The player that just works hard will be better at that level until that talented player decides to work hard. So it's like hard work will beat talent until talent decides to work hard, and that talented player will just go ahead of the just hard working player because it's about working equally hard, but he's a talented player. He's going to be better naturally. So,
you need to have the 2.
Whereas, there are some players who do probably make a living from football who are purely just talented, and that has just gotten them to that level. But have they made the most out of it? No.
Alan Morrison.
Yeah, but then again, for him, success for him could be being a pro footballer for 10 years or whatever years he's pro
People
footballer.
are disappointed when potential doesn't exceed.
I think that's frustrating. Because you're like, if that was me in that position, I'd be working much, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Imagine like living, especially those foreign players who travel abroad. Imagine living, and a life for a professional footballer. Another thing for Matt Sheldon, it's not luxurious. You travel, you're away from your family, you fly out or you travel to the game, you're there 4 hours early, you're just sitting around doing nothing. You play a game for 90 minutes and all of a sudden this 90 minutes, all eyes are on you, and then you're just away from everything again. And those next
what happens if you're not playing?
8 to 12 hours,
Yeah.
there's only 11, 22 players on the pitch. Imagine being not one of them and you have to travel, miss your family, go here, go there, and do nothing basically all day. Like, it's such a difficult life. So if you want it, like, you either have to have talent, or you have to work hard, or you have to have
talent,
both.
Work hard, and if you're hard working, keep working.
The definition
hard.
to wrap it up.
I think that's it. Just talented, just work hard.
Just work hard. Why not? Like,
and
just
if you're
put
working
it in
hard,
for a couple of
keep
years.
working hard.
I think to summarise it, first of all, the difficulty of making the level of professional is absurd. It's not attainable. Always attainable. If you give your best application wise to whatever your chosen field is, irregardless if you don't make a career out of it, you will be a much better person, and you'll be able to affect people a lot more in your life.
I think you need to have some sort of self-awareness, know your level. Some people have, obviously kids reach for the stars. I always would say that, why not? But once you reach an older age, you should have some idea of what your level is, and if you're not pushing the boundaries to reach that level, well, then what's the point? Now, that doesn't mean someone playing Sunday League football who has it wants to play and enjoy themselves. If that's what they want, that's their level.
Yeah, but that has the right application.
That's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with
that. Might be any application outside the football pitch, but
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as your self-awareness is, like, some people are so head in the clouds they haven't a clue what level they're going to reach, but they're working so hard to get there. That's great, but then some people need to be more realistic and be like, right, if I keep working hard, I can reach that level, and if I can get to that level, that's it. That's my level. Bang, I can get there. And then from that, sometimes people just turn it on and go further.
It's football's a weird game. If you knock down one door, sometimes you might get 3. The first door might be the hardest. I think the big thing,
your level will
apply yourself. Your level will find you
always,
but give yourself the best chance. Apply yourself, know what you're good at, identify your weaknesses, and bring them into your work rate, and make sure that you apply yourself to those weaknesses, apply yourself to your strengths, and just enjoy the bloody game.
Like, give yourself the best chance.
Just enjoy the game.
That's the best way to wrap it up.
So
give yourself the best chance. Work hard.
We'll probably just do it. Thanks for watching. If you're obviously watching on YouTube, or if you're just listening on other platforms, we'd obviously appreciate sharing it with people. liking it if it's on YouTube, reviewing it if it's on like a Spotify or a platform, obviously.
Feedback, we love feedback.
Yeah,
Engagement.
feedback,
Loads of
engage.
comments. We reply to every single comment. Every single comment we reply to, not just because we think it's a good ethical thing or a moral thing. We actually genuinely really get a lot of value out of the comments. So
That's where
it's
we
really
get the
important.
topics. So we
It's
got
where,
two
it's where we
topics.
get and
like,
engage
big
with us
topics
as
from
much
that,
as possible. With engagement, we'll bring as much value as possible. I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Alright, thanks for watching.
Thank you very much for tuning in. It's the first of many, so
Yeah.
stay tuned. Right.
See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Got a way away. It sounds a bit.
Nice.